it's calculating how much money you're going to need in those 20 or 30 years of retirement.
To maintain my current lifestyle.
To maintain your current lifestyle.
Okay.
Right?
And so, everybody. Okay, welcome to another episode of Inside Out. I'm your host, James Catledge, and I'm really excited about today's episode. This, as many of you know, is my background, financial services. And I've spent, close to 30 years, I guess, in financial services. And so this is an area I know well. And I've handpicked this panel to join me today because things are changing. Things are happening in the space I consider myself an expert in. And I want you to know about the changes that are happening because I think they affect your money. And we're going to get into it. I want to welcome to the studio Lance Mays from Boca Raton, Florida. Welcome, Lance.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Lance has been here in the industry longer than I have and runs his own agency and is using some of these newfangled tools that we're going to talk about later today. I want to welcome brothers SKyler and Kasey Cleveland from Utah. Welcome, guys.
Thank you.
These guys, I've met them many years ago, but the reason they're with us today is they run a financial services firm that only uses AI and technical tools that are really revolutionizing the industry at large. And I thought it'd be kind of neat for you to hear about what's happening there. Let's start there. First of all, SKyler, you've got 4.5 years experience in financial services, which isn't, forever. Right. It's relatively new in the space, but you've only used software and technical tools to help your clients. Tell us, if you would, what type of tools are you using that make it unique? And the part that I guess resonated with me is you're actually an advocate for the client as opposed to pretending you're an advocate for the client. Like all financial planners pretend they're advocates for the client.
Sure.
You actually, with the software you use and the tools you use, actually are.
Right.
And that's very impressive to me. An old school guy that thinks he knows something about the industry. This is unique. Tell us about some of the tools you're using.
So, I would say, well, one being financial scoring. There's a process that was introduced to me when I first started that would allow me to take a client through some important questions and steps that would allow me to uncover a little bit more about the overall financial positions of the individual that I was working with. And so it wasn't just pulling out a piece of paper, but it was structured Q&A. And the benefit of it is in each of these subsections, it allowed us to score them based upon tax efficiency, based upon risk, inflation. There's a variety of things that impact the score. And so it was really thorough. The client felt like, hey, you're asking the right questions, as if I've been in the industry for a very long time, even though within 6 months, I was able to take a client and make them feel very comfortable that, hey, what you're kind of going through and the value of the scoring was really something that I think they saw as a benefit to them.
Yeah,
so
let's unpack scoring for a second, because this is a new concept.
Yep.
Financial services, typically what happens is there's a needs analysis where you sit down with a client and you basically are trying to find out what their assets are so you can make recommendations and move them perhaps over to assets that under your control.
Right.
Like assets under management. I think that's a common phrase today in the business. Scoring, is this like credit scoring? What is happening?
Yeah, it is that way, right? And so it's very fluid where, as you take action, your score can be influenced, right?
Okay.
And so just to give you a little bit of a better feel of what we go into, we start with income and debts.
Okay.
Want to better understand their debt to income ratio, their saving capabilities, and then we go into investments and understand where their money is being invested.
Okay.
Understanding risk and how much money is in an at-risk or a non-risk position.
Okay.
We take a look at their insurance, want to understand what they're using life insurance. It's it's as I found over the last 4 years, people have it usually through their employer, but they don't realize the vehicle that it can be used for retirement planning or for other, long-term care, those types of things.
Okay, let's talk about this for a second, because insurance is insurance in my book, right? You buy insurance, but life insurance, I think, is what you're referring to here.
Yeah.
So when I die, there's some benefit left over for my family to pay bills. Perhaps my spouse needs to pay off a mortgage.
Sure.
Maybe replace my income because I'm no longer here. Sounds like you're talking about it differently.
Yeah.
You're not talking about a death benefit per se. You're talking about using life insurance as some type of living tool.
Right. Yeah,
All
absolutely.
All right.
And it was something from a discovery process for my own self. Is I was looking for something to build a retirement for my family, my wife and I, and obviously tax efficiency was important to that conversation, and so it was certainly something that I wanted to put in place for the living benefit. I was less concerned about the death side, more so concerned about what it provided to me at retirement.
Right. You're a long ways from death if we just look at the actuary tables, right?
Yeah.
What are you, in your 20s? No, I know. SKyler's in his 40s, but you look like you're in your 20s, right?
I know.
Okay. So you're basically saying the death benefit was not the decision-making process. It was what can be done with this tool and its tax advantages to achieve a living outcome, a retirement, perhaps a better retirement.
Exactly.
Are you saying, and this was certainly the case when I was in the business, that life insurance has some tax advantages?
Yes. Yep.
Maybe outline those.
Yeah. I mean, there's some other, I guess, more familiar tax-free type vehicles like a Roth, right?
Sure.
But there's oftentimes some limitations to what Roths can provide and who can access those types of accounts, where life insurance was a vehicle for me where it allowed me to put money into my life insurance as a savings vehicle, right? That would be able to grow similar to any other retirement type of an account. But the difference would be is when it's time to withdraw those funds, I get to access that on a tax-free basis. Very different than a 401k.
Oh, sure. Very different than a stock brokerage account.
Exactly. Where there's some tax liability when we actually, So that for me and my family, we just thought, hey, this is a no-brainer for us to be able to allow this money to grow over the next 30, 40 years and to be able to access it tax-free.
So you own personally life insurance for the retirement benefits, and the death benefits a throw-in.
Yes.
It's
if
something happens to me, it's also here for that.
Correct.
Wow.
Yeah.
Are your clients adopting the same strategy?
Yeah, I mean, I would say for a lot of the clients that we work with, this is kind of new to them, right?
Sure. Well, it's new to everybody. Yeah, insurance, you think of dying to get it.
Yeah, and most people are familiar with a 401k because that's what you typically get offered when you go work for an employer.
Right.
And so introducing the idea of tax-free and the vehicle of life insurance being able to be used as a living benefit and the tax favor that it provides to their retirement future is absolutely a conversation that we have with the client. And I think the beauty of the financial scoring is there's a discovery process for them of, oh, okay, this is how I can improve my financial score if I take these particular steps in adjustments to potentially looking at life insurance as a tax-free vehicle to kind of build that bucket of money.
All right. So and I want to get you in here, Kasey, because you two run this practice together. So you're suggesting that the scoring is revealing efficient ways to get me prepared for retirement, to pay less in taxes, and maybe have a bigger pile of money.
Right.
I think that's what you're saying. And the scoring is telling me in advance of making the mistake what I should be doing. Are clients responsive to the scoring? Are they liking the scoring, or is it just something you use for yourself?
No, I mean, absolutely. I think it allows them to understand where they're at. They've never had an opportunity to be scored. They oftentimes don't know, where they're at for retirement or what their shortfall is, or they've just kind of, like I said, most of the time it's usually from an employer, hey, we got a 401k, and they start just putting money in that type of an account.
I can see
so
that.
This is a great opportunity from an education standpoint to help them better understand how to build your net worth. And there's multiple ways to do that. And important for us to ensure that we do it in a tax-favored way as much as we possibly can.
Sounds like that's a big deal. And I know, Kasey, at your practice, you work exclusively off referrals. You have partnered with various CPA firms and accounting firms, and they're giving you their clients. So there's obviously some trust that's been built up there, and these are tax experts. So they're counting on you, I guess, to do what?
I think the best way from an analogy standpoint to understand is think of it as if we're doing a physical, if you were to go to a doctor and do a physical, right?
Yeah, right.
They are not prescribing medication prior to the physical, right?
Right.
They're going to do
Hopefully not.
the physical, they're going to do the x-ray. They're going to want to understand if you come in with a bad knee, but are asking, for pain medication for your back.
I've looked it up on Google Doc. I think I know the answers.
I've got the answer. And so in a similar fashion, right, we are taking clients through, in this particular case, right, referral clients through a diagnostic process. And it's thorough and it's holistic in that a lot of these parts are still connected to the whole. And so if we just simply say we want to focus on one and address that, it doesn't help the client, right? They're still leaving in some sort of pain. The problem is they don't discover that pain until it's too late. Right. So now the problem that was maybe small that we could have corrected and fixed in your 30s or 40s is now a much bigger problem in your 60s, and now you're having to work till you're 85.
Right.
So having this conversation and being proactive and taking them through this diagnostic tool allows not only us, but allows them to go through some form of discovery, and they create kind of an aha moment. You ask SKyler, do they understand or appreciate? They get to a point where it's like, I've never done something like this. We all push off the physical. No one wants to go to the doctor and discover something that's wrong. But the proactive approach by them or us actually reaching out to them is what a lot of these folks that we are partnering with and them sending their clients, this is what they appreciate most, because it's not, here's a product that I may or may not need. It's, hey, it looks great, but here's one area of concern. Let's focus on that. And then the whole score gets a little bit better.
Very good.
So we focus in on some of those things, but we do not do it until we've gone through the holistic or the X-ray process. Absolutely.
That's good. Well, that's a great analogy. I like the explanation there. Now, one thing that dawns on me, and Lance will appreciate this, is in financial planning, one of the cool things that I experience with my clients is the power of compounding and putting a little bit of money away now and consistently, and over time, it equals perhaps millions of dollars. Right. And I think if you're able to score clients in a diagnostic way, basically run them to the finish line today. Right. They can run to the finish line and kind of see what it looks like. That would be a massive tool for guys like you and I. I mean, basically for guys like Lance and I, we could verbalize the finish line, but they would have to just believe us.
Right.
You're able to show them with tools how this works. What do you hear in here, Lance? What do you think of this stuff?
I feel like I'm a caveman.
Yeah, right.
I was the guy with the notepad and
the
felt pen, and going
Yeah.
through and asking, X, Y, and Z questions. And it was more subjective than objective.
Yeah.
And it was more about whatever my personality or what I thought maybe they should be looking at. And then so many of the agents and financial planners out there just happen to have that in my briefcase right here for you, and that's what so many of the guys out there have done and still do.
Right.
This is a dynamic game changer. It has just really opened my eyes to what changes are happening in the world today. Of course, everyone knows about AI. Everything you look at is AI. Everywhere you see, listen, and it's all AI driven. And the changes that are occurring, and that every single person that's responsible enough to incorporate this into their practice can see a dynamic growth and a dynamic change in the industry. Most importantly, the most objective, dynamic, positive change for their client.
Beautiful.
Because it's not a personality involved.
Right. So you're saying most financial services, and I know this because this is my background too. Most financial services are sold with persuasion versus maybe the whole. I love the word holistic.
I agree.
The holistic advocate path. This looks like a way to get there faster. The advocate path.
I think it's consistent.
Yeah.
I think it's unbiased.
Right.
And I think that anybody that has licensed and a sincere, caring attitude about doing the right thing can implement this into their practice and into the client's life.
Interesting. Okay, so you just said something there that I want to unpack, and maybe Kasey can help us understand this comment. You said that if they care about the client and want to do the right thing for the client, these tools get us there. How do they get? What about this is just not fancy? I mean, it sounds like this could just be technology, right? I mean, what about this makes it better for the client?
You know, we have a slogan. I said, like, if it doesn't mathematically make sense, right, we're not going to be a part of it, right? The math has to make sense prior to us making a decision. And we don't even get to the math until we understand, let's look at the whole picture and let's determine, with your help and some of the data that they've provided, right? Yeah. We're looking obviously at their financial physical health, or excuse me, their physical, but their financial health as opposed to their physical. And so we're looking at all areas, right? We're looking at tax deferred, we're looking at tax free, we're looking at, as SKyler mentioned, debt to income, insurance, real estate. We're trying to uncover, hey, are there red flags inside what you're currently doing that you are not going to be in a good position later, right?
Yeah.
If you knew you were saving in the wrong place, when would you want to know?
Or immediately.
65 or 45, right?
Now.
Like, that's the idea.
Right
so
now.
if we can help you understand that now and do a little course correction, right? That's great. The course correction is driven by the data that we collect, not what we have in our briefcase, right?
Yeah.
So we'll take that data and it says, guess what? You know what? There's actually some options or some opportunities on the insurance side that may put you in a little more favorable position. There's some vehicles that are tax-free opportunities that it looks like the math is going to support, but prior to us recommending an actual product, let's make sure the math makes sense. Let's see how much you can save over the next 25 years with a relatively conservative interest rate, and where does that get us? And if it gets us, as SKyler mentioned, we can see that real time. If it gets us to where we need to be, then that's the product that we're going to go find for you.
Got it.
But it has to make sense, and it has to change the score. If it's 70, it's got to be able to help the score go from 70 to 85 or 75 to 95.
So this scoring process is not invented by a Fidelity or a BlackRock or a T. Rowe Price, one of these companies as a tricky way to get more sales. It sounds like this is something, and I think the company is financialscoring.ai, right?
Right.
Have I got that right? Yeah. And your whole practice is that you're only using scoring to help clients. There's no other tools. You're using scoring and AI, right?
That's it, right? And you can always, I mean, there are numerous calculators online that you can access that would obviously allow you to kind of back into some of the same things and confirm. But the AI piece allows us not only to get there a little bit more accurately, but a little bit quicker, but also adds, I think, a testament to what we're talking about. And you don't have to take our word for it. AI is available to them as well. We've built it into our system.
Got it.
So that they can be educated at the moment we're actually going through their process or through their x-ray. So they have the ability to kind of partake and be a part of that whole process. But the intention is always to say, we are always going to try to understand, we're always going to do the x-ray prior to making the recommendation. So that, first and foremost, whether that leads us to a particular product or not, and it may, right? Obviously, we're sensitive, as our partners are, to tax. We want to pay less if we can.
Yeah.
And if there are some strategies that we can implement, again, in the 30s and 40s, to put them in a much better position in their 60s and 70s, we will do that. And oftentimes it ends up being a tax-free vehicle that makes the most sense relative to their situation. Sure. But it's not universal. There's definitely times where we said, keep doing what you're doing, don't make this move, or hey, guess what? The score looks great.
Right.
We'll support what you're doing, and if things change or there's money that you need to protect or you're tired of risk, come back and talk to us.
Does the scoring reveal bad moves I've already made?
Absolutely.
It would.
Absolutely.
So it would show, basically it's not just a forward-looking tool. You look backwards too. You're able to tell if I've made some errors and if they're correctable.
Correct. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. All right. So interesting. It sounds like I got to be at your office a couple of days to do this. How many questions are involved in this?
Roughly 27 questions.
27 questions.
Yeah.
And I would know the answers?
Yeah, and usually we will preface it with a little checklist for a client so they can have the information ready when we go through that interview process.
Give me an example of a question.
What is your monthly income? That's one of the first questions.
Okay,
right?
so I'm going to know these answers. I don't need to be an economics professor to do the 27 questions.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the key here. All right, so mom and dad, who perhaps are blue-collar employees, can sit down with you, and no matter how long does it take me to do this?
I would say roughly about 30 minutes. Sometimes when there's some interaction, it can go 45 minutes, but not much more than that.
And it's the same for me, blue collar worker. It's the same for me as it would be perhaps a lawyer or an accountant.
Absolutely.
You take them through the same 27 questions.
Absolutely.
How many different metrics are you looking at when you do these 27 questions? Because from my understanding, this is an algorithm running, and you're using AI to enhance this.
Yeah.
How many different metrics are being looked at?
There's 48 metrics that's being considered in the information to kind of spit out the scores.
Got it. And you're tying it, what, to my age and proximity to retirement? What are you using to tie this down?
That's exactly right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if I'm 57 and I'd like to retire at 70.
Yeah.
You're looking at basically the scoring's going to identify my age because you asked my birthday probably.
Sure.
And it's going to identify I've accumulated X number of dollars. And if I want the same lifestyle I've got today,
Right.
how much money I've got to save, or I'm on track or I'm off track or whatever.
Correct.
What this is what continues to click in the back of my mind, because these are conversations I've had for many, many years with clients. Why is the tax thing such a big deal? I can tell you guys are keying in on taxes. Don't we all have to pay our taxes? I mean, what? Obviously, we all have to pay taxes. So what? It sounds like you're helping me identify maybe tax I don't have to pay.
Sure.
Tell me a little bit more about this, Kasey.
The tax component probably was driven initially by our partnership, but that really, if you really want to pull it apart and look at it, tax ends up being probably our greatest enemy, right, to retirement.
Okay.
So if we are looking to build wealth, tax is usually the one thing that is going to erode that quicker than others. If you can imagine a bucket and we're stuffing money in, tax is the hole in the bucket at the bottom that's leaking out, maybe that we don't quite notice. We think, hey, annually we're going to pay this.
Yeah.
We also can't predict what taxes are going to be like when we retire.
Right.
So if we have saved in a tax-deferred way for 40 years and believe we have accumulated...
Tax-deferred meaning I don't ever pay it?
Tax-deferred meaning you're deferring to pay those taxes until you pull that money out at retirement. So when you are getting ready to live on that money at, let's say, 65...
That's when it's due.
Then it's due. You were saving, let's just say, theoretically, in a tax environment that would have been 20%. 30 years later, it's now at 40.
Oh, boy.
And so now it's upside down, right? That vehicle was designed to put you in a position where, hey, you can save now when taxes are lower, right? Or excuse me, when they are higher, and then pull that money out when they're lower.
Yeah.
And the opposite, that's never happened. It's unlikely
It's always
to
goes
happen.
higher.
But it's just unpredictable, right? We don't know. Taxes could be the same as they are today, and if they are great. But I think the plan is, if they are higher, right? What is your best mathematical way to save so that the pile of money that you're going to live off of is as large as it can be?
That's it. And that's the objective.
If we can control that, now let's do it.
Yeah.
Right? And not have to guess like, boy, I hope the president makes sense in 2045.
Control the controllables.
Yeah, that's it. So that's a big deal.
So basically the scoring is thorough enough, it sounds like, and can be done relatively fast. Am I scored like a week later, or are you scoring me in real time? What's happening with the scoring?
Real time. Yeah.
It's real time.
Yep.
I leave your office with a score.
Yep, you will. And you after we complete the process, you typically will get an interview with a report of your score as well. But that's something that we'll have a discussion about. Normally, we're going through your score, your individual sub-scores, your overall score, but you're going to get a report yourself.
And when you say sub-scores, you're talking about sections or categories or areas of emphasis that get their own score?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Income and debts gets their own score.
Yeah.
Investments get their own score. Life insurance gets its own score. Real estate, and then retirement planning.
Wow.
Those are your
Okay.
subsections.
And you've decided that these subsections matter because you may be perfect in 3 of the 4, and a 4th may be a glaring weakness.
Sure.
And so by scoring them separately, you can kind of tell where to focus the client's attention.
Exactly.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it.
You mentioned initially, right? These are all weighted against age, proximity to retirement. But
Yes.
It's very similar to a credit score, right? Not all categories of the credit score carry the same weight.
Right. Good point.
Payment history is worth more than maybe total credit history, right? And so
Right.
those are we've designed that. It's obviously proprietary, but built inside that, each of these categories is weighted a little different against the total score.
Yeah.
But we're looking for the red flags.
Yeah.
And if there aren't any, great. If there are, then
Yeah.
then obviously we want to talk about solutions.
You know what's interesting? When we were setting up to do this and we had our discussions about having you in for an interview, we talked about, I was wanting to put on the description and everything all the details about your business so that the audience could call you and get going. And you guys pointed out, look, we're not really in need of that. What we would like to do is tell the world that this is coming because you're working exclusively with referrals. Right. You're not looking for public, you're not looking for somebody to dial a 1-800 number, call your office, right?
Right,
You're working with accountants who are entrusting you with their clients. And I like that because what that tells me about what you're doing, they've checked this out. They like this. They like their clients treated like this. Yeah. What's hitting you, Lance? I mean, 38 years in the business. What are you hearing here?
I think hit on a key point here that it's able to not only take where you are, look where you want to go, and look back.
Right.
And what Kasey said about the tax part of it is something that most people usually don't take into account because no one knows exactly what's going to happen.
Right.
But there is one other area, and SKyler mentioned it as well. This program, when I've been implementing it and working with it, has another amazing component. It'll recommend different areas for you to strengthen your score, better your life, look at your future better. And one of the biggest areas that most people don't really pay a lot of attention to, or hope they don't have to, is a long-term care, or if something goes wrong with you healthy-wise. I mean, you may have all the money, but you can't buy all the time.
Yeah. Right.
And so that can drain you a lot more quickly than the tax bucket can. For sure. And like what was mentioned, you get the right types of products that can include a long-term care at no additional cost really to you, and you've got that component covered. Then you've got the rest of your financial nest egg to live those life with your family the way you want to, in control the way you want to, not having to worry about which pocket it's going to come out of. And I think that's what's amazing to this program is it gives you the opportunity to score that, to look at that, and to plan for it, and put it in real-time dollars and what it looks like over the life of your savings and in your investment.
Because you and I, Lance, come from the generation where you sell a life policy, you sell an IRA, and maybe you sell a long-term care policy. These are separate products that require different premium. And basically, I think the way SKyler explained it is long-term care is no longer a separate product. It doesn't have to be. Your death benefit can be advanced to you in your lifetime. Basically, it's an advance of your death benefit into your lifetime to pay some of these extraordinary expenses of long-term care. That's phenomenal. And I think that's kind of a recent thing. I mean, you and I were not able to sell stuff like that in the early days. You had to have a different license with a long-term care company to offer their products. I love the idea that with the same dollar, we can accomplish all these objectives. I can retire. I can plan for an unplanned death. And if I get into a nursing home, which is 25% of us are going to end up spending some time in a nursing home, I can advance the death benefit to my family to be able to help pay those bills. That's awesome. That's good stuff.
And this program helps identify it. Sorry for interrupting, but to me, I think that is one of the crucial things. Like, do you want to address it now? Or do you want to be reactive to it in the future when you can't qualify for it?
And it's too expensive.
Exactly.
Yeah, you're right. All this stuff requires qualifications. If somehow I get a bout of cancer or something and I didn't start this early, it's too late. I'm now stuck with the old-fashioned tools like a Roth or a 401k or these other tools that are highly taxed.
And limited for the investment amount.
That's right. Yeah, they put a ceiling on the investment amount. Where really, in theory, very low-income people are the only people who can even participate in these things and max them out. And so if you're successful financially, these are not even tools you can use, for sure. So the other thing I'm drawing upon is it sounds like the scoring is maxing out algorithmic technology and AI. How is AI, which is such a big word these days, how is AI being deployed inside the scoring company you guys run? How is it being used?
Yeah. So what happens, just to give you a little bit of an idea, if you can picture it, usually once we've collected the information, that data is there to where the information actually is extracted and inserted.
So sorry to interrupt. I just want to make sure the audience gets this. So you're saying information is the answers to the 27 questions?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Yep. Those answers to the 27 questions are extracted and inserted into the AI
Engine.
for it to populate.
Okay.
Just kind of a general outcome, and that's
right.
the basis to where you can begin asking questions.
Okay.
Relative to really anything.
Is this unique to your company?
I mean, personally, I would say yes.
You created this.
Yeah,
You have an AI team that created this tool.
Exactly.
All right. So I can't expect to go down to, I do business with Charles Schwab.
Yeah.
I can't go down to Charles Schwab and say, look, I need a financial score,
Right.
and I'd like you to AI the results.
No.
Okay. All right.
yeah,
All right.
yeah.
Because that sounds like something I'd like to have,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Matter of fact, I can see once the word is out on this, I can see every client saying, "What do you mean you don't have AI?"
Right.
Like if you can't give me the definitive AI treatment,
Yeah.
I don't really know what we're doing together.
Right.
Because I kind of need to know.
Yeah.
I mean, if AI has all the answers, why would I be dealing with somebody who's got not all the answers?
Yeah.
I mean, is this what you're hearing from your clients?
Yeah. I mean, I think the value, just an experience that we typically will go through, and I've gone through myself, is what is my personal shortfall, right, for retirement? I'm saving X amount of dollars. It has all the information to understand where I'm at today.
Yeah.
It understands, hey, if you want to maintain the same lifestyle, taking into consideration inflation and taxes and where your money is today. And
Shortfall. Just define shortfall from, what do you mean by shortfall?
yeah, so it will look at from age 65. Let's say you're planning out, or the AI is planning out 20 years of retirement or 30 years of retirement
Before I die.
Yes.
Okay.
Before you die, it's calculating how much money you're going to need in those 20 or 30 years of retirement
To maintain my current lifestyle.
to maintain your current lifestyle.
Okay.
Right.
And
so,
everybody would like it upgraded in retirement, by the way. So, but maintaining the current lifestyle is kind of where it's programmed. Can you program it? I want to upgrade my lifestyle by 20%. Would it do that calculation?
Absolutely, and it does it within seconds.
Oh, wow.
Right? Or if I worked, what if I worked 5 years longer and saved an additional $1,000 a month? How does that impact my
So it
shortfall?
gives you a total shortfall. In other words, don't change anything.
Right.
Add no money to any accounts.
Yep.
If this is how much you are missing
Right.
to maintain your current lifestyle.
Correct.
And so you can actually identify what you call a shortfall, which is a great way to put it.
Yeah.
And I can figure out that shortfall, and then you get into which products help me shore up that shortfall.
Yeah.
And it sounds like paying less taxes is kind of an important part of that.
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the number one questions that I want to ask for my own personal self and for my clients is, well, what is the most tax efficient vehicle? If I need to save more,
For sure.
what is the right spot for me to put that?
Yeah, and I just right away, my mind goes to 401ks and IRAs, and especially these Roth IRAs. They've been sold to us as a society as the tax-free solution. And you've pointed out clearly they've got ceiling limitations.
Yeah.
And I don't want to use the word poor people, but these products are designed for low-income people.
Sure.
For sure.
Yeah.
Okay? And it sounds to me like if I make $200,000 a year, I can't even play ball with a Roth IRA.
Yeah.
I've got to do something else to have tax advantages.
Yeah.
Am I right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the value for myself is I'm thinking about retirement, but also I have 5 kids, right?
Yeah.
And I have 4 girls, and I understand I have weddings.
Wow.
And
It's a
those
lot of
types
information. So.
yeah.
Okay.
So, but
Yeah, right.
my point in saying that is I need the money sooner too to
Right.
be able to access.
Right.
Where in a
Weddings,
Roth,
college.
I'm not tapping into that until 59 and a half. Well, I need the money sooner. So
Good point.
so there's just a lot of values that I saw personally that fit my needs after I did my own personal financial score
Yeah.
and recognized that this made made the most sense for me.
So you
Keep in mind,
so,
SKyler
yeah.
has invested and been saving in, I think you had 2 or 3 other vehicles running concurrent to this experience that you've had. And then the shift was, wait a second, I'm not going to be able to do some of those things unless I either make significantly more money or just strategically shift the savings. So in 10 or 15 years, I do have access to that. And, you know, let's say I don't need it, right?
Yeah.
The girls want to pay for their own wedding, maybe.
Yeah.
Right, right. Is there a calculator for the girls' weddings? Right.
But if you're going to be on the hook for that, hey, listen, I do need to access it. I don't want to pay that penalty, and I can get to that now
Right.
in some strategic ways. So those were all things that did, you know, it wasn't like, hey, listen, guess what? The new hottest thing is this particular product. Let's jump in. No, we're going to go through the experience. I did the same thing. We've taken parents, relatives, friends, and now obviously many clients through that same process. And at that particular point, again, that recommendation or that prescription, if you will,
Yeah.
then becomes that is the best answer. It's not the only answer. It's
Yeah.
the best answer right now. So we're going from a good, but that's a little bit better. Here's the best thing to get to that goal, not
Yeah.
to help us, but if you want to get to that goal, and we can help you do that, or someone else can help you do that, but this is what you need.
So, Lance, I got to know how you feel about this. These guys have covered a lot about technology. They've covered, there's AI involved. You really do know the answers. You've done years and years and years of seminars, helping clients, serving clients. You've used every product that's been developed in the financial services space. Yeah. What was appealing to you about working with these fellas? I mean, you guys have created a partnership. You're working together. You've got this huge firm with this huge reputation that goes back 38 years, but you've decided to take really new advisors and their technology into your practice. Why?
I think that's the key thing. They're new, they're not tainted. They've got excellent communication skills, they've got excellent knowledge, and they have a phenomenal program that they've got and they bring to the table. And again, I want to point out, again, this is unbiased.
Yeah.
That it comes in completely neutral to each individual client. And as far as it goes for any other agent out there, I've looked for all the holy grails. I've looked for all the different things to use and implement. The easiest way to go out of business in any business is not adapting to the change.
Right.
Is not being able to apply things that are current, relevant, and really have an impact on your practice.
Yeah.
And that's what this does. For anybody out there that wants to learn where they are today and where they're going in the most efficient manner, that's what this program can do.
Good.
And if you're wanting to look on board and come in on board with us, we can in turn show you how you can grow and help your practice to be able to incorporate these products to help you help your clients.
So hold on. Do you recruit agents, Lance, into your practice?
I selectively speak with people who I feel will meet the criteria.
So you do. You're growing your practice.
I'm
with
open
advisors.
to it if they're the right people.
Got it. And a right person would be someone who's kind of open to new technology, early adopting, that kind of stuff. And obviously, they've got to have the desire to be in financial services space, like a servant's heart. They got to kind of be in this space for the right reasons.
Right. It's about service.
Right.
It's about service.
Because I've known you for a long time, and I know you didn't need technology to be successful. Some people may, okay? Yeah. You did not need technology to be successful. You were wildly successful, multi-seven-figure income for years and years and years in this space. And I think that's probably what prompted me to have a podcast like this, is the idea that someone with your vast experience would take on AI and algorithms and a new way to do a needs analysis. I don't want to put words in your mouth, so you correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like you think this is a more efficient way to do the right thing for the client.
100%. But on top of that, you said, yeah, I didn't need it.
Yeah.
But it sure would have made it a lot easier.
Yeah.
And a lot better.
Right.
A lot sooner.
And you feel that way.
Oh,
you feel,
wholeheartedly.
Yeah. So you feel like the thousands of clients you've served historically, if they had had the 27 questions and the 48 metrics, would have been better served even by you.
Yes, because you would have got to the heart of the matter sooner.
Ah, okay, well said. Yeah, I get it. So ultimately, otherwise it's up to your ability to use the right words with the right people and hope you have an understanding of what they need to hear in order to do it effectively. This allows you to be on neutral ground.
Yep.
And so I can be a poor communicator and still the scoring puts us in the same ball field.
Correct.
Ah.
Yeah.
I got it. Okay, as we're getting close to the end here, I want to make sure the audience hears this. You've taken me through this yourselves, and I loved it. Walk me through. I'm a client, potential client. I'm actually not a client yet, right? I'm a potential client. I come in. Do I come into your office? Where is that I first come in contact with you, and then walk me through the process?
Most of the introductions happen, at least initially, right? If we're talking about a referral, right, we get a name, phone number, email, we communicate, reach out, but we usually set up the appointment and take them through likely a virtual meeting. Not that you couldn't do this locally and sit down. That's obviously great. There's a relationship. This ends up being a virtual meeting, right?
Okay.
Zoom tends to be the more common resource that's used so that we can not only see each other, but also you can access and see the screen. I think the power of the tool is you seeing, as I input your data, seeing that score go up or down.
Oh, they can
Real
visually
time.
see it happening.
Absolutely. So now they can see, hey, listen, we've collected all the data. You're at a 78, or you collected the data, you're at a 48. And we're going to talk about that.
Yeah.
We'll put that on the shelf for just a moment. There's some things that we'll talk about. Let's get into the next category. Or at that particular time, we have now begun to infuse the AI, right? We've woven these together so that we can actually have AI provide some sort of feedback at that very moment so that they can both see, hey, listen, this is something that needs to be addressed. And it's not about solutions. It's about, hey, here's kind of where we're at. What else can be done, and then if there's 3 or 4 recommendations, we'll address those at the very end. So that virtual meeting would happen, as SKyler said, 30 minutes. Take us through those questions. Longer if maybe they have questions or they want to know more about a particular topic or a subject or a particular solution.
Sure.
We would then address some of those things, typically towards the end. But we want to educate as well as help them discover, right? So some of these processes are, helping them understand, right? If you heard about or are you familiar with or know much about the rule of 72 and how that particular concept would work.
Okay.
And the impact that something like that could have. So maybe we're talking about that inside us, gathering information about their income and debt, right? Kind of their cash flow situation inside their home. And then investments, right? We're talking about risk. So we're going to go through each step of this process. And they're watching. As I'm inputting the data that they're providing me, I'm asking, how much money do you currently have at risk, right? How much have you saved to date that's currently at risk? Meaning, what's in your 401k or your brokerage account, or the many other vehicles that actually have money that would be subject to some side of risk. We collect that data, they see that, and then at the end of that subscore or that particular category, at the very bottom of the page, not only do they see how the score is weighted, right?
Yeah.
They see the score, and if it's at 77, we're going to tell them why it's at 77. And then we're going to go to the next subscore. Maybe we're going to talk a little bit about insurance. What kind of insurance do you have? Do you have term insurance? Do you have some sort of more permanent insurance that we've talked about today, right? And then real estate. What are you doing? Is there a real estate portfolio? Is there some cash flow that comes in because of some of the potential rentals you have? And then we're going to talk about retirement, right? Potentially your view on taxes. How far away are you from retirement? Yeah. What are you doing to protect what you've saved, right? Is there a will in place? Is there a living trust that you've actually deployed?
That too.
We want to understand not only what they've done, how are they protecting it? And then at that point, we talk about the holistic, right? The collective of these provide us a holistic number that says your total score is 68. Yeah. And at the end of that 25 minutes, we're going to look at that. And then the next step would be we're going to take the data you've given us and that 68 score, and we're going to input it into our AI, basically interface right there, real time. And then they get to see the AI communicate back to us. So it's all in front of them, right? There's no funny business. There's no, hey, I've manipulated the numbers so that your score will be 48.
Sure.
Right? You can see the score go up or down as I input the numbers. And it's common sense. This is not, but there absolutely is a proprietary piece, an algorithm that really is working behind the scenes and then in conjunction with the AI to really, really help us say, hey, listen, we want to do the best possible thing. Here they are. Yeah. Here are the recommendations. And then at that point, we say, we want to help, again, always educate, help them answer any questions that would potentially come up.
Kasey, I have a question for you on this front. I feel like the financial services industry was designed for rich people. It was set up for people who have $500,000 or more to invest. That's actually a commercial. Okay. If you have $500,000 or more to invest, we'd like to hear from you.
Right.
Well, what if I have $5,000? Mm-hmm. So tell me, do you work with poor people?
That's funny. I think the idea, right? We're certainly not going to classify in that particular situation.
Yeah.
we want to help you do the absolute best thing with however much money you have the ability to save. And we want to start it and help you create some consistency or really discipline around doing it right now.
Got it.
And if you're going to make one decision, let's make the decision that's going to have, your money's going to have the ability to grow the most with the least impact. And if it's limit taxes or risk, but it could be $500 a month.
Yeah.
It could be $5,000 a year.
All right.
Whatever the case is, we'll find a product that makes sense.
Okay, interesting. So you don't put a criteria, a qualification in order to be a client of your firm. This is some sophisticated technology.
Right.
And you could. I mean, I see very big companies boxing out people who need the most help.
Right.
Literally boxing them out. Don't call this number if you don't have. I mean, they say it differently, but that's what they mean. They're only wanting to put assets under management that are large.
Right.
And it sounds like you're willing to work with every person, whether they're loaded or they're just getting started. Do you find a lot of clients just getting started? I mean that seems like that would be a common thing because if you're getting referrals, you don't necessarily know they have anything when that referral comes over. So you're starting with folks who may have limited resources.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I would say a good majority of those folks are looking for guidance too, right?
They need it most,
They
perhaps.
haven't had access to some of these things, and so at the least, we can take them through and educate them through this process. More often than not, their self-discovery through that process leads them to say, "I got to make a change.
Yeah.
Can you help me?"
Yeah. What happens when I can see this being common? The accountant says, "Look, this is Jane Smith. We'd like you guys to work with her on the scoring and the AI and get her going." And Jane Smith starts working with you and she says, "Oh, by the way, my brother-in-law is my financial advisor." What do you do with that? What happens?
I would say, this gives the client an opportunity in that particular situation because
Jane
it's pretty
Smith's
common.
brother-in-law.
It's common, right? That they may already have
if
a
they
financial
have money,
plan.
they may have a planner.
More often than not that they do.
Yeah.
And so the financial scoring component is really kind of a test to what you've done today and ensuring that you are on the right path.
All right.
And as Kasey said, if you are, then we're going to encourage you to continue that path.
Yeah.
Right? So we're not necessarily here to be disruptive to your relationship. We're here to make sure that you're in the best possible place.
Very good.
To prepare for retirement, to avoid, just ensuring, really not to avoid, but to ensure that pile of money is bigger.
Yeah, I can see this. That's a great answer, by the way. I like the idea that you got a second set of eyes on the previous plan. Whatever was put in place, you basically have a second opinion, like we're told to do with physicians, and certainly financial advisors deserve the same treatment, right? They need a second set of eyes on what's been done. And I like the idea that your company is not willing to prejudge the other planner. You're judging the facts on the ground,
Right.
based on the scoring. And it sounds like you've been through thousands and thousands. How long has this scoring been in play? You didn't do this last week. How long has the scoring been in play that you've been using it actively with clients?
Right around 4 years, I would say.
That's a long time.
Yeah.
So you've seen this tested over thousands of people.
Yeah.
You know that this is giving you the data you need to be the advocate for the client.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Man, this has been good. Anything else you think you would like to add or say about scoring or AI that the audience should hear?
The only thing I say, it's obviously a unique relationship and partnership that started, right? You mentioned Lance is so experienced, has done this probably a million different ways and been extremely successful. His adoption into this, I think he was able to see and understand pretty quickly. And I think that's kind of unique about anything like this, right? I think there are definitely industries that are still operating in very much a prehistoric way, on a piece of paper. They're doing the plus and minus. And
Prehistoric. It's a great word.
You can get stuff done, I think, right? I think there is a growing need or a growing want or desire for individuals or families to say, hey, listen, we do want to do this. We don't want someone down our throat.
Yeah,
right?
right.
We don't want you at our kitchen table because we don't know you
Yeah.
from Adam.
Yeah.
And help me understand this particular process,
Yeah.
right? And whether they've been in it 30 or 40 years, as Lance has, or 3 or 4, like SKyler and I,
Yeah.
there's application, I think, across the board where you can actually take this and apply it, all of it, some of it, but there's going to be some significant value that you add to the client. You become immediately respected. There's a level of trust, I think, that comes with this.
Yeah.
Because we didn't have it. Lance has it. He puts us in front of somebody, and they're like, "I'd rather hear from you maybe than the
Sure.
tool." But for SKyler and I, we've not had the experience, and so
Yeah.
we become, so to speak, experts almost immediately, because we are not here
Yeah.
to tell you what we have to sell. We're here to figure out if there's a need.
Yes.
And if there's a need, then we will address that. But I think
love
the
that.
idea that it can be such a nice tool or resource in your back, regardless of your background, where you're at. You could have been, building homes 3 weeks ago. I mean, that's kind of the reality of that tool. That's not obviously very common, but it is applicable across the board, regardless
So
of your
are other
experience.
financial planners able to use your tool?
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
are.
Yep. You can pay for a subscription
Okay.
to be able to access the financial scoring.
So, okay. So, and you, my goodness, I'm going to tell you right now, if you get out a piece of paper and pen with me, with this type of technology being available, now I know about it.
Right.
That's you got no credibility with me. I got to have this AI involved. I mean, and I really wouldn't be asking if you've been in business 38 years or 5 years or whatever if AI's involved, because AI's got access to every piece of information, every morsel of data about my situation's available if you're deploying that tool.
Right.
I like hearing this. So you're saying other financial advisors can subscribe to this, and where would they find out about this? At your website?
Yeah, financialscoring.ai
I see.
is the spot to go and
That's
find.
both your firm and the ability to learn. If I'm a financial advisor currently in practice,
Yeah.
I can figure out how to participate.
Yep.
Cool.
Yep.
Are you guys the guys that would be involved in helping a new financial planner get up to speed? Because I got to think they all need this.
Yeah, absolutely.
You got a team of folks, I'm assuming. We've
Yep.
got the founders of the company here, but
Yep.
you've got a team of folks that are in a position to help guys get up to speed.
Yes.
Awesome. This has been amazing. Lance, thank you for bringing these guys in. Thank you. And I feel like having been in this space. I mean, this was my career. I spent my entire adult life in this space, and I feel like this is a niche that needed to be filled. But it took maybe technology getting to a point where it could be.
Agree.
The industry's been successful with guys like you and I who could communicate well. The whole industry, those that are successful are the communicators. Those that can't communicate get washed out and end up doing something else. This eliminates the power of the word and puts it in the power of the data. I can see it's clear. I can be a terrible communicator, but with this tool, it can do the work. And maybe this changes financial services to an advocate-based profession instead of a maybe less salesmanship.
Agreed. I think that's an important point. Again, as I said earlier, it's unbiased.
Yeah.
It gives everybody a level playing field,
Right.
and it gives them access to everything that's ever been said, typed, input, anything in the financial world, anywhere in the world today. It
Right.
brings it all together at the fingertips of the advisor.
Right. I mean, I know it. I'm not limited to your education.
Right.
It's literally the AI's tapping everything. So I don't know if it says Adam and Eve, but certainly all the way back in the financial space. Anything in microseconds, you pull it out, and of course the scoring is amazing. By the way, am I trying to get to 100 with the score? What's the range?
Yeah, it is to 100.
0 to 100?
Yep,
or-
yep. And there's obviously different levels. 90
Okay.
to 100.
Well, so it's
You're-
like
you're
a
in a good
score and a
spot, on
test, like a
target.
school teacher scoring system.
Yeah.
If I'm 90 to 100, it's pretty good.
Yep.
You ever seen anybody get 100?
No.
Yeah, maybe in
Never.
a sub score, but not an overall
Wow.
score.
Nobody
Yeah.
in thousands of scores.
Yeah.
Well, that speaks to the value of the scoring engine, really. That's awesome. Guys, thank you for being here.
Thank
I
you for
wish you
having
the
us.
best of luck.
awesome.
This is great. I'd like to have you
great
back
to
in a
chat.
few months and talk more about this, because maybe we can do maybe a demonstration or something like that. I'd like to show this scoring
Sure.
to the audience. I mean, this has been fascinating.
Yeah.
We
Thank
love
you.
it.
Thank you for being here. Lance, thank
Pleasure.
you.
Thank you.
Yeah, great. Thank you, guys. Another great episode at Inside Out. I'm your host, James Catledge. Thanks for being here.